Alrighty, how are you all doing today? We're going to be looking at aquatic ecosystems today. This is the last video, last set of notes that you have to do for the year. Take a deep breath in and let out a nice sigh of relief as we wrap up the school year. So today, your objectives, you are going to explore the life under the sea. So there are several conditions that can actually affect marine life and how they live. The first is definitely going to be water depth because water depth is going to determine how much sunlight actually gets to the different types of life. Because sunlight is very important, as we have learned in the past for things like photosynthesis, um, overall energy, heat, that kind of thing. So the region near the surface where the light can penetrate is what we call the photic zone. Think photic, kind of like photo. And that's 200 meters deep into the sea. So from the very top down to 200 meters deep. This is where phytoplankton live, and they like to live in this area because there is a lot of sunlight that can actually penetrate, and they're okay with living there because they can produce a lot of energy and food from that sunlight. So we also see a lot of different benthos that live here, that live in or on rocks and sediments at the bottom of these lakes, streams, and oceans. Temperature and currents can also affect different conditions. So we have warmer water near the equator, colder near the poles. This is dealing with that direct and indirect sunlight. It's also going to vary with depth. The deepest part of our ocean is extremely cold. The deeper you go, the colder it gets. Not as much light energy can reach the bottom. So currents can also change the temperature of water drastically. Just depends on what type of current it is, if it's warm water or cold water. Nutrients available is another big one because, as we know, all organisms need specific intake to survive, certain substances. So the type and availability of these substances vary drastically between different bodies of water. So it's going to really affect which organisms live there, or which types of organisms live there. So when we look at fresh water, only 3% of the world is fresh water. And remember, that 3% is also what you drink. So this is a very small number compared to the rest of the water in the world. So we can divide fresh water into lakes, streams, rivers, ponds, and wetlands. Wetlands would include things like bogs and swamps. There are quite a few other in-betweens when you think about freshwater ecosystems. So when we look at freshwater, we're going to talk about rivers and streams. And these are going to originate from some underground source. Upstream, you're going to find very little plant life. Downstream, you're going to find more plants. And usually that's because with rivers and streams, most of the nutrients near the origination area get washed down, and the nutrients will be more likely to be found downstream. When we're looking at rivers and stream life as well, you're more likely to find fish with certain types of hooks or suckers that help them latch on in certain areas where the water is very fast flowing to help them hold on and to stay in place. Lakes and ponds often have a combination of plankton and algae with other plants, and there's going to be a lot of photosynthetic organisms. Then wetlands, water either covers up the soil or is present at or near the surface for part of the year. Like I said, these are your swamps. Think about like if you go outside on a really like a day right after it rains, the ground is still very soft and there's water everywhere. That would kind of simulate what a wetland is like all year round.